Hi guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Send show. I'm here today with Royal. Hey Royal, how are you?
Hello, good morning.
So today we're going to talk about the new Ekahau AI Pro. So they released that product last week, and it's a pretty big software upgrade for them. So we thought we would just take a look at the new product and then take a look at the new features and give our 2 cents about those new features and see
Yeah.
which one could be useful for us and give our general sense on the new upgrade.
Yeah, so I'm going to be coming into this pretty fresh. I haven't really played with AI Pro yet. Need to be updated on it. So, Francois, you're going to go through a bunch of different features. We're going to talk about the new look. We're also going to mention the design features that are new within AI Pro. Then we'll look at some of the survey features that's included and give our final thoughts and show any other features that might be interesting as well. So it'll be interesting
Mhm.
as we go through this. We also have this recording in video if you want to see the application as we share. Francois will share his screen and load up some demo maps, and we'll kind of go from there, right, and see what we think.
Yeah, and so we're gonna try to be as descriptive as possible for you guys just listening only. But if you want to see what the application actually looks like, and if you want to see what we're trying to do, don't hesitate to go and watch the YouTube videos. We'll just share it at the same time as we publish this podcast audio. And it's pretty big changes. Like if you look at the UI, it looks like a brand new UI. So yeah, if you've never, or if you use Ekahau today and you want to see the new stuff, I would just encourage you to watch the video for this one.
All right.
So let's jump right into it. Let me just share my screen, or while
Yep.
you tell me if you see
Yep.
that.
I see Ekahau AI Pro, and right off the bat, it looks different, right?
Yeah, and the name has changed. I guess we can talk about that at first. So they moved from calling the application Ekahau Pro to AI Pro.
Yeah.
And I
So what
guess
does
we'll
the
see
AI
in
mean?
a bit. Yeah. Well, AI usually stands for artificial intelligence, right?
Yep.
So they actually introduced a new feature that they call the auto planner. That I guess that's where the AI stands for. So it's like a tool that will that just places APs for you in a more smart way, I guess, in a smarter way, and that's where the AI comes in, I guess, in the new AI Pro.
Yeah, and so
Um,
looking at it, it's we have the dark mode. I think we'll call it dark mode,
mhm,
and it is, I guess, a big feature that everyone requested. They wanted it to be dark, and so
mhm.
far I like it. But we can tell right away that a lot of different things have moved. Um, I'm used to the
Mhm.
left pane. Now we have it on the right side for access points, surveys, and buildings.
Yeah, and the look is very similar to the survey application. So if you guys have upgraded the survey application on iPad to version 2, which came out, I think, the end of last year, the end of 2021. The looks is very similar, so it's more like you said, dark interface, and then some of the text is in white, blue, or purple. And then, like you said, the panel where we used to have the access points, the survey in the building that used to be on the left has shifted now to the right of the interface. Um, so I guess same type of data, but just organized differently in the UI. There's also like multiple tabs at the top. So we used to have
Yeah,
just, I think, planification and survey, if I remember correctly. Now we have design, inspect, survey, and live. So it kind of recalls the tabs that we have in the survey app as well from the iPad,
yeah.
um,
The
except that they
the
added the live view.
Yeah, the live in the previous version was down at the bottom, so you had to
Mhm.
expand that. And so now they moved. It's a little bit neater where everything's along the top, and you can just
Mhm.
easily click into which view you want to be in.
Yeah, we used to have like the real-time frequency monitor. Like you said, we would just access it via the bottom right of the application. They had the little triangle or little expand button. Now I guess we can get access to the same view by clicking on the inspect tab or by clicking on the live view, depending on what type of data we want to see and analyze. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
and
one
then
other
also,
thing
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to point out on the bottom, you actually have your visualization. So I think that used to be at the top as well, right, Francois? That yeah, that used to be where
Yeah.
the like top right. So now everything's kind of moved towards the bottom for your visualizations. So yeah, definitely things have moved. There's also the three dots at the very bottom right, kind of far off,
Hmm.
um, where you
This is the
can look at
options.
your options. Yeah. So I don't think anything's new there for options. I don't know. This is my first time seeing it, so maybe
Something
um
is new. We'll talk about it.
yeah,
Yeah, the max accuracy here.
max,
Um,
yeah, that's probably something to
yeah.
talk about.
Yeah, so you're right. The for the visualization view, it used to be like on the I guess on the center at the top center of the map view. You could select your visualization. You could select the APs you wanted to look at. You could select your filter, your options, your frequency band. All of these has moved to the bottom of the screen. So once again, similar to the survey app on iPad, you can select now your visualizations. You can select your map, the networks. So this is similar to what we previously we had, like my APs, other APs. So now we're gonna be able to filter these APs using those network filter. And then on the bottom right, you have the three dots for the options. So this is where you change your visualization, your accuracy, and the opacity, and things like this. So same type of options, just located in a different area in the UI.
All right, so why don't we add a map or floor plan to see what it starts to look like when you're in the design tab?
Yeah. So actually, let me open a project we prepared. I'm just gonna. We have a little demo file we prepared. Okay. Look at that. Okay,
Wow.
so in this demo, we have a couple of floors. We have floor number 2, we have floor number 0. And what we've done here is we've actually imported the floor, scaled it, then we drew the walls, and we drew the coverage areas on these floors to give you an idea of what it looks like. So far, nothing is really different than what we used to in terms of creating floor plans, scaling them, drawing the walls, drawing the areas. It's very similar to what we used to, and all of the same tools are available at the top left. So the toolbar is very similar to what we used to have in version 10 in Ekahau Pro.
I think it's interesting to note or important to note that you have two panes, right? You have your
Hmm.
floor plan pane, and then on the right are your access points, surveys, building pane. So I'm
Hmm.
curious, can we make the can you move the right pane over to the right so the floor plan is actually more fuller here in this view, or can we go full screen with that?
Yes, that's a good question, because we used to have a little, a button that allows us to collapse the AP pane, but we don't have that anymore. So what replaces this is a keyboard shortcut. So if you go to View, then you'll have it here, Expand Map, or you can do Command F on macOS or Control F on Windows. And if I do Command F on my machine, you can see it I
There you go.
become full screen. Yeah. And if I'm full screen, I actually have a little button that allows me to exit the full screen and then brings the AP pane back. So I can
Yeah.
collapse it using Control F, Command F, back and forth if I
Okay.
want
It's
to.
not really full screen per se, but it's more full pane.
Hmm.
You s- you-
I,
it-
I
the
guess
the
I could
floor
go
plan
full screen here.
occupies, yeah. The floor
Yeah,
plan occupies the majority of the screen when you do that
exactly.
expand feature. Okay.
Which could be useful if you have like very wide floor plans. It could be a little bit more easier to work with if you need the screen real estate. Um,
Okay. So
so
we
this
know
is
then
yeah.
we know then that access points on the right. Does anything else change where data is reorganized in this view? Because um,
Mhm.
ahead of time you did put the coverage area and some of the walls. Did the location of those change?
No, not really. This is same. areas. So in the toolbar at the top, I can actually choose between my area tool or my exclusion area tools, exactly the same as before. And for the walls, same thing. Everything is the same. So I can, select my walls. Then I have a drop down that appears at the top that allows me to select, the type of wall I want to use. Um, Something
Th-
interesting for the walls though is on the right pane, on the
Yeah,
AP pane, I guess, when I select the wall option, it gives me like a little bit more details about my
yeah.
specific wall, and I can change the settings of that wall right here.
Yeah, those settings for
Which
the wall types are a lot more in front of you,
Mhm.
whereas previously it was just all along the top, the top of that pane next to the wall type. So now it's easier to adjust some of those settings, and you can change the attenuation for the different bands, including 6 gigahertz, right? So this is
Mhm.
new in
This
this
is new.
feature of AI Pro's 6 gigahertz design. So that's all prominent in many of the features of Ekahau.
Yeah, and that's something that's new in the wall type is the attenuation per frequency band. We used to have only one attenuation per wall. Now you actually have the ability to decouple, the attenuation you want for, the different frequency bands. So if you've measured that your, drywall is actually not a good idea because it's pretty much the same attenuation per band. But if you select like a brick wall and you've measured that it has actually different attenuation per frequency band, then you can go and adjust these attenuation in your wall type for your design to be a little bit more accurate. So this is new. Apart from that, we can still change the color of the wall. We can still change the name of the wall, same as before.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about the wall attenuation as well. There's a newer feature
Mhm.
discussing that, but overall, this is the new look. There's dark mode. There is no light mode yet. I don't think so, right? You can't switch it
No,
to light mode.
yeah,
I
there's
don't. I
no
don't think
light
you can.
mode.
Yeah.
Uh, no, so maybe in the future,
Yeah.
I know some people prefer light versus dark mode,
Dark.
or
Yeah.
the ability to switch depending on the time of the day.
Right. So
So we'll
that'll
see.
probably come in
Yeah.
the future for sure. Okay, so why don't we go then into design, right? 6 gigahertz is what we're most looking forward to. That's what everyone's going to want to design for. You can still design for 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, but what does it look like, Francois, to design for 6 gigahertz?
Yeah. So design. If we take a look at the design and we take a look at the few new features they introduced, like you said, they introduced the ability to design for 6 gigahertz. So if I actually go back to my toolbar and select the access point menu, then I'm gonna have my access point drop down list available. And now in Ekahau, you should have the 6 gigahertz APs that are available on the market, available in that menu. So if I'm looking for, let's say, a missed AP45, which I know supports 6 gigahertz, I have it available here and I can just drop it on my map. And now you can see on the map that we actually have three radios. Actually, here I have four radios because I have the Bluetooth radio. But I can see my 2.4 gigahertz radio. I can see my 5 gigahertz radio, and I can see my 6 gigahertz radio on top of my Bluetooth radio. So all of these radios are available to me in Ekahau. It looks very similar to dual band, except we now have like an extra radio. And if I
And
look in the yeah,
yeah, and
go
how do
ahead.
we know like so the signal strength you're looking at currently, it's looking good for that single AP, but how do we know
Mhm.
what band signal we're looking at right there?
So at the bottom, you see you have like the band selection. So at the
Okay.
bottom of the screen now, we can select 2.4, 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz, or all if we want to see all frequency bands. So if I select 6 gigahertz, this is what I'm looking at right now. So right now,
Okay.
we're looking at the 6 gigahertz signal
Heat
strength
map, yeah.
coming out of this AP. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and I guess on the AP pane, now on the AP panel, when I click on my AP object, I can see that I have, a 6 gigahertz, a 2.4 radio that's compatible with Wi-Fi 6. So it gives me the little Wi-Fi 6 logo.
Yeah.
Um, and I can click on it, and it gives me, a couple of details about that radio. It tells me it's 2.4. It tells me the bandwidth, the channels that I have selected for that AP, the how do you call it,
The transmit
the
power,
transmit power. Yeah,
and
exactly.
also the height you have the AP at.
Yes, and I have a toggle to turn it on and off very easily. I think we didn't have that before. It was, we had to
Yeah,
do like right click, turn
yeah.
off
There's a
that
lot of
setting.
clicks to get to that point. Yeah. So now
Hmm.
it's just one click where you can actually change many of those settings for that radio, rather than right clicking the AP, editing it, and then having to make those changes. So one less click for the radios.
And I've just clicked on the 5 gig radio, so I can see it's also Wi-Fi 6 radio. It gives me the same details, so I can have these information about the 5 gigahertz radio. And next to it, I have my 6 gigahertz radio, so I can see it's a 6 gigahertz radio right here. The band, I can see by default, Ekahau is using 40 megahertz wide channels. I could use 80 if I wanted here, and then I could select the channel that I would want
Yeah,
to use. And these are the 6 gigahertz radios, which is interesting.
your
I
country.
haven't configured my country, and I'm suspecting I'm using Europe here because I don't have everything. So let's take a look at this. If I go to my preferences, yeah, I have Europe. So let's change this to Canada, let's say.
And
And
then
now if I go back to my 6 gigahertz
a
radio,
lot more
wow.
channels available. Yeah. So how about if you select 160? Channel
Um,
width 160. Yeah, there you go.
Look at
You still
that.
have a lot of channels available. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, there's still a lot of channels available. That's crazy. And then if you change your heat map visualization to throughput, what does that look like? Like I'm curious, like how they're estimating throughput for six
Data right here.
gigahertz or data rate. Yeah,
Yeah.
data rate. There you go. So what is it at?
So
Oh
here,
wow,
4.7 gig.
awesome.
Pretty good.
Quam 1024. So just like in previous versions, you hover your mouse over an area of the floor plan, and it'll give you whatever visualization you're in. It'll give you details about that specific area, like what AP it's getting that measurement from, the channel it's on, RSSI, same kind of data that we've seen in the previous version. It's just you've been able to
Yes.
modify those settings much easily with the access point panel just by clicking on the radio.
Yeah, it's actually it's pretty nice. They also added a new feature which is called locate. So next to my AP list, for each AP, I have a little icon that looks like one of those map drop.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know the name of this icon, but
Yeah, I'd say like
um,
a map, a little map icon to locate the access point. You can click on it
yeah,
and
yeah,
it'll create this
will
like
blink.
beaming, yeah, a
Yeah.
bouncing indicator of here's where your access point is. And this is really useful for maps that have a lot of access points, right? You're trying to find one specific access point, you can't really quite find it. And I think for me, this would be useful for something like an AP on a stick where or
Hmm.
validation where you're trying to find an access point and I'm like, okay, is this the access point I'm staring at right now? Like,
Hmm.
or did Ekahau place this in the right place? And you can just locate it and have it point to that right one. You can either make your notes for it. Like I see this doing it for like when I create images, take an image of that access point. I want to be sure I'm looking at the right one.
Yeah, this is very useful if you, I mean, if you've, any of you guys have worked with more than 50 APs on the floor, this could be useful. Um, yeah, to kind of locate an AP and know where it is on the floor, it's super cool actually, to be able to quickly locate an AP.
Yeah. So,
So this is,
yeah, go ahead,
yeah.
Francois.
No, I wanted to talk about a feature that they added, which
Okay.
is adding the simulation for reflection and
Oh
diffraction.
yeah, yeah. That is a new
Yeah.
feature for Ekahau, is having to show reflection and refraction from the wall type, right? So I'd be interested to see
Yes.
what that looks like.
Let's see if we can model something. So I'm going to take, I'm going to add a wall, and then draw a small concrete wall here just to simulate the fact that we have like a concrete pillar or something like that.
Okay.
Um, and I've just done that in a random location in the open area here, just to kind of showcase what happens. So today, if I just draw my little concrete wall,
That's a
you can
tiny little
see that,
crocky roll.
yeah. But let's say this is like a pillar or something in their
Yeah.
building. You can see that it kind of creates a V shape behind that
Yeah.
wall, that shows me that I have less signal here. But
Yeah, I
in
see
the
that.
real world, we know that the wave will kind of diffract around that
Hmm.
object. So we should, in theory, we should have more signal strength at the end of the floor over there, where
Yeah.
the V shape is ending.
Yeah, because it'll reflect
Okay,
off of some of the walls as well. So I think that's what
on
it's also
top, yeah,
simulating.
exactly. On top of the diffraction, we should have a little bit more refraction. Um, Reflection, sorry. I'm getting my term mixed up here. Are you testing me, Raul?
Man,
Um,
even I will mix up, because I will always get refraction and diffraction mixed up.
Mixed up. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so this is what we have right now with Ekahau. But now, if I go back to my visualization options, so all the way to the bottom right, I can now click on my three dots. And in the accuracy menu, I now have something called max, right? And so if I change this to max, it
Okay.
should also give me reflection and diffraction heat maps. And look at
Okay.
that. Now I
Yeah,
can
because that
see
actually
that
that's
I
what we're
actually have
talking
signal.
about. It's not refraction, but diffraction. I think
Mhm.
I think I was using
Yeah.
refraction in the earlier.
Yeah. So diffraction is really what we should be using here, as the signal will kind of, go around that area and then gives us a little bit more signal
Yeah.
at the top here of the floor plan.
Yeah. So can you go back and switch it from max to high, because you can actually see the difference there. Where
Hmm.
set on the high accuracy, you can see the signal is slightly lower, and there's some
Hmm.
gray area where we're not meeting a requirement. But if you set it to max, and I think it's important to know, like, you have to set it to max in order to
Hmm.
get the diffraction and reflections. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden now, after changing it to max, like the signal looks great.
Yes, and one thing we should mention is the reason why they don't have max by default is because it requires more calculations, right? And you actually, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when I change it to max, it actually takes a few seconds to calculate the new heat map. That's because it requires more calculation, more math in the back end.
I think you can actually simulate the demo they did in their webinar if you move that access point into the hallway to see if, like, in the bottom right of that office, that the reflection and diffraction occurs. So, like, maybe if you move it in
Mhm.
more towards the middle of that hallway, yeah, and then set it to
Mhm.
high, because right now you can see that signal even at that far corner, tucked away in the corner. Yeah, see on high, it's saying we're not meeting the. Where's that? You set to max or high?
Yeah, right now I have it set to max. Let me change it to high. Okay,
There you
here
go.
you go. This is what you have.
Yeah, so there's a portion of dust there, like on the sharp corners, right? Because of the
Mhm.
rooms, the simulating like the hallway deployment, like maybe we'll place one access point, set it to max to get that extra calculation. I don't really see a huge difference, but I guess if you
In
were to
this,
move the
yeah,
AP,
in this scenario, when we change it to max, we do have a little bit more, I guess, signal going in the
yeah,
open areas due to this is probably due to reflection
yeah,
and diffraction as well. You can see this signal opening up, which is also a
hmm,
property of diffraction. Um,
it did take a while to show it.
yeah, it takes a bit more time. So I think the way I would use this in practice is just design looking at high, and when I'm done, just switch to max to kind of see the final picture and see, if it makes sense in some areas.
Okay, yeah, I can
Um,
see that. So
yeah.
I mean
So
it's a good way to. I mean, reflections do happen in the real world, right? It was just never part of Ekahau. And now that we have that, we can be a little bit more accurate in our designs and AP placement. But you still have to consider that the client device has to get uh,
Mhm.
its communications back to the AP.
Yeah, one danger I see here is, you know, there's a pretty good difference between high and max in terms of signal coverage. Like if you look at max, at the max accuracy, so the calculation that includes diffraction and reflection, it gives us a better coverage. So I guess the danger I could see here is us relying too much on reflection and diffraction inside our design, and then realizing that in the real world, we don't have as many.
Yeah.
You know, and creating like coverage holes that way. So I think we're gonna have to be careful about that, and use it for some cases, but don't not really necessarily rely on it all the time, especially in critical areas.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to validate it or do AP on a stick to try to
Yeah.
see how accurate this algorithm is in the design. But I mean, it's useful to have.
Hmm.
All right. So what
Yeah.
about I'm not sure how often people use the auto planner. That is brand new, and they say
Yeah.
they've redone the algorithm for auto planner. I think they call it AI auto planner now, right? So that's why it's
Hmm.
called AI Pro. Why don't we take a look at that feature and see if it's something we now change our minds on using?
Yes, yes, because the AI, I mean, the previous version of the auto planner wasn't the best, so we would typically just place the APs ourselves and be more efficient than it. But the new one, they try to use AI and do different iterations. So as we launch it, you guys will see that it will kind of iterate through different possibilities, and to try to find the ideal design. The designer will kind of match our requirements to the best of its ability. And it actually works way better than the previous version. For some scenarios where we have an office just like this one with like one model of APs and one type of ceiling, it actually works pretty well. Given the fact that we've prepared the project files for the algorithm to run properly. So there are a couple of things
Yes.
we have to do before we run the auto planner. Obviously, we have to import the floor plan, scale the floor plans, draw the walls. We also have to define the coverage areas and the exclusion areas.
Yes.
And then if you have multiple floors, I believe we also have to create the building before we run it. So,
Yeah. So I think it's
um,
important to note here that it'll be important to take the Ekahau courses. I think that's required to really understand how these features work.
mhm.
I think that are they training people on the new version now if they were to go take
Yeah.
an ECC design? Okay.
Yes, actually, the ECSC design course has been updated with the new, with the new software. So
Okay.
the look and feel of the slides have been updated with the kind of dark mode of the application as well. But also they introduce all of the new features. So now in class we'll talk about 6 gigahertz. We'll talk about these new, I guess, theoretical um, um, notion that comes with Wi-Fi. I guess the evolution
Yep.
of Wi-Fi, and in the labs as well, we're going to be using the new application,
Yep.
um, and some of the new features. So
Yeah.
the ECEC design has been updated as the product at the same time, I guess, as they improve the program. So it kind of matches
Okay.
the new upgrade.
Yeah, because I think it's
Um,
important as you use an auto planner that you don't just trust it right off the bat. You just need to verify that the locations are good. It's placing them in the right place. Because I think, Francois, before we recorded, we did not have an exclusion area, so it was placing APs like in the stairwell where maybe they don't
yeah, I
want
guess
APs in the stairwell. Yeah, let's go ahead
we can try
and
it
dive
out
through it.
and showcase it. Yeah. So one thing I didn't mention as well, but something we need to do before we run the auto planner is define the coverage requirements. So that's also something we talk about in class in the ECC design class. But there's a menu in Ekahau and the project, which is called coverage requirements. That allows you to kind of set up your requirements, your technical requirements for your project. So in this case, I'm just going to use the default Ekahau best practices requirements, but in class, we talk about how we can define these technical requirements based on the business requirements, based on what the customer is trying to do on the Wi-Fi network. And here you can see that they've actually added some requirements for 6 gigahertz. So
Yeah,
they now have different technical requirements for 2.45 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz.
great. Yeah, that's good.
Um, so and when I talk about, because I know we are, for those of you listening audio, when we talk about coverage requirements, we talk about the minimum level of signal strength required, the minimum level of secondary signal strength required, SNR, and so on. Okay, so for these, one thing also I wanted to mention is they changed the way you select an area. So in the Ekahau Pro, we used to be able to click anywhere to select the area, which would cause some problems sometimes because it will just overlap everything else in Ekahau. So now if you want to select the area, you have to click on the side of the area, and it selects it. And now I can see that I have the Ekahau best practices
Yeah, you
coverage
can see it
profile
selected
assigned
at
in
the
my area.
top of the window.
Hmm. And it's also highlighted in blue. It used to be highlighted in orange, and they changed that to blue in this version.
Okay.
Okay, so now if I want to run the auto planner against this floor, I can click on, they have a little icon which is called AI auto planner, and this just just ask me which model of AP I want to use.
Yeah, and it's gonna do it based
Yeah.
on capacity as well. I don't know. Did you put capacity, Francois? Like the number of devices in the area? No, you have no
I
devices in there.
didn't. No. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can
We're
configure it
doing
here
purely
in
RF.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
You could add, like you said, you could add your devices per area if you wanted to add the capacity. Right now, we're doing it like pure RF,
yeah,
um,
just coverage.
um, just coverage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there is an option that says optimize with capacity, and I'm not sure
Mhm.
what that really means. Like it's gonna just crunch the numbers on the number of devices, I guess.
Yes, it does like capacity, kind of a capacity study using the data you've added to the software, and then it makes sure you have enough APs to cover.
Yeah,
Um, you know the number of clients or devices you've defined for specific areas.
yeah, and it shows you have one area that it's going to do the AI auto planner for, area two,
Hmm.
which is the one that you were selecting. All right.
And then I can change. So I can assign one AP, one model of APs. I can assign a height for that model of AP, and then I can pick and choose which channels I want to use for 2.4, 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz. Um, so let's try to use 80 megahertz. Why not on 6 gigahertz?
All right.
Uh, it doesn't show me my all of the channels, which is interesting.
Yeah, there's
Let me go
a
back
lot
and see.
larger list earlier because you
Yeah,
had
let me go
changed your
back to my.
country to Canada. Yeah,
Okay,
it's there.
I guess it doesn't show it to me
What if you
here.
change it to 20 megahertz? Will it show more? No.
No. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
We found a feature. And then here for 5 gigahertz, I could use 40. Let's see what happens if we do this.
could could it be that that AP only supports Uni 5? Because yeah, what we're
Ye-
interested in is Francois has the MIST AP45 selected in the AI auto planner, but in the 6 gigahertz channel selection, it's not showing us all the channels. So I don't know if that's just
I think it should be which other APs are support 6 gigahertz?
the 9136 from Cisco.
9136. Let's try that.
It's the same,
We
yeah.
have the
So it's
same
probably
list.
something in Ekahau that needs to display all the channels.
Yeah, I guess I changed the preferences while I had the project open. So maybe if I save and reopen it, it will take it into
Okay.
account
Yeah,
here.
that's possible.
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now if I click on create, then we'll see that it's going to try to place the AP for us. And they had
Yeah.
this cool animation that go through
Yeah.
different iterations, yeah, and tell us, the optimal
Yeah.
design.
The,
And in this
the
case, we have.
yeah, 814. But the visualization that it goes through is like this animation. But previously there used to be just a loading bar and it had some interesting stuff at
Mhm,
the bottom of that loading bar. So now this is just a visualization of it trying to place APs and figure out where it should place APs.
mhm. And at the end, it gives us like a little summary, and I can click on the details.
Yeah.
And here it's telling us that the AI autoplanner took 814 iterations to figure out that the best
Yeah.
AP count would be 5 here for us. And that, that would help us to meet the requirements 80% of the time on 2.4, 93% of the time on 5 gig, and 97% of the time on 6 gigahertz.
Yeah, I think this is a great way to understand that Autoplanner is trying different iterations of what would work best, and it gives me this like Doctor Strange vibe where he uses
Hmm.
this he goes in the future and tries to determine like which iteration the Avengers win, right? Like that's what he's doing, and here he's done it 814 times. This is the best one out of all those iterations.
Yeah, so I mean, it worked pretty well here. If I look at 6 gigahertz, it looks pretty good. The AP placement, I mean, they
It's not too
placed
bad.
all of the
Yeah.
APs, yeah, they placed all of them in the open areas,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Sometimes in these type of floors where we have like conference rooms, sometimes I try to place some APs in the conference rooms.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not too bad. I mean, it made the requirements, um,
Yeah,
so it doesn't
and
look
it's
too bad.
coverage requirements, so it's good. And then you could even can you still look at individual AP signal strength if you were to select one? There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can select and,
So
and see what you get.
this feature here is a lot better than the previous version where if you selected an AP, you had to go to a drop down and say only show me the visualization for it
Hmm.
said for the floor or all APs, and then you had to select individual APs. So here it's showing you if you don't select any APs, it shows you the signal strength for the whole for all APs. But the moment you
Hmm.
click on an AP, then it shows you the signal strength for that individual AP. So I think that's also a nice feature, makes you work a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah, and also something that doesn't always work for us when we use the auto planner is the location of the APs, because obviously the algorithm doesn't know, what type of ceiling is there, how close it is to the wall and stuff like this. So sometimes we may have to move the APs a little bit to make it work. Um, but this one actually looks pretty good.
Yeah. And I
Um,
mean, it's a fairly
maybe I could.
simple office floor plan.
Yeah.
For like a warehouse, I'd be curious how that would work.
Hmm.
But yeah, for me, like using Auto Planner is a way to just get access points onto the floor plan, and then you adjust accordingly based on how the installation will actually go. Right there may not be a path there, or what we were familiar with before is it would place it right on top of a wall or something like that. So
Yeah.
you would just have to move it. But in this case, it didn't do that because Francois, you also set exclusion areas. Um,
Yes.
so far, it did a pretty good job, I think.
If I, yeah, if we move on the other floor that we have, so on this floor, we also imported, scaled it, drew the walls, and we drew the coverage area. But here we didn't draw any exclusion areas. So we
Yeah,
have a section where we have stairs, lifts,
yeah,
bathrooms.
restrooms, yeah. And I think
Yeah.
it's important to know that it didn't even place the APs on this floor. When you ran AI Auto Planner,
Yes.
it placed it for the floor in that you were actually looking at in that view. I don't think we saw an option to just do all the floors. I kind of like
Hmm.
that feature better because sometimes I don't want to create an the auto planner for all floors, maybe just the individual floor. But maybe in the future they'll add an option to
Maybe
do all floors.
maybe that's because we didn't create a building, right? So
Okay.
let's try to create a building and let's
Yeah.
see if we have. So I'm just creating the building the same way as
Yeah.
before. I'm gonna have
Gonna
to
have to
align the
align it.
floors. Yeah, so let me just use. Um, I'm just right now. I'm just aligning the floors to make sure that both floors are aligned vertically speaking on top of one another. So I'm defining points that kind of match when you're going from one floor to another vertically. So now I have my building set up. So if we go back to the second floor, the floor we haven't done yet, now I can actually see I
You
have
can
some
see a
signal coming
signal
from
from
the
the
other
first.
piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
And
lot of
so if I
signal
go back
bleeding
to
through.
the, that's, yeah. If I go back to Auto Planner and I look at my options, now I can
Oh,
actually
there you
see
go.
my
Yeah.
two areas.
So
Yeah.
you have to set the create the building, and then it can do. I like
So if
doing.
we,
I would prefer to do it for individual floor, but I don't know. Like, have a checkbox and
yeah,
say do it for these floors.
I think could you, oh no, here, I guess it's all or nothing.
Yeah, yeah, it's all of them.
So here, if you do it floor by floor, we just relaunch it here, so it just can calculates for us floor by floor, and I guess at the end it's going to give us the same
Yeah,
type of summary. Yeah.
there you
So
go.
here we need
It's
10
done,
APs. Yeah, it's done.
and you can see that some of the AP locations are kind of questionable, where you might not have it, like especially in the stairwell or uh,
Hmm.
but you didn't create any exclusion area, so it's trying to accommodate coverage for the whole floor plan.
So here, let me try to actually exclude some. I'm going to exclude the toilets, the elevators, and the staircases. Right. So right now
Yeah.
we actually have one AP in the staircases. So um, let's just regenerate it again. So I'm just going to go back to AI Auto Planner and relaunch it. So it's every time you launch it, it kind of removes everything you have and replace a new set of. So it's a new set of iteration.
Yeah, so just keep that in
Um,
mind. If there's
mhm,
AP placements that you do like and you rerun it again, it's gonna change it.
mhm. And here it gives us another result here.
Yeah, it
So we
actually
can
created
see
a coverage
that,
gap
yeah, in front of the
in front of
washroom,
the
we have a
restrooms.
little
Yeah.
coverage gap. Yeah.
Okay.
So here, I mean, you could use your best judgment to see what you want to do. If this is critical for you, you could
Yeah.
probably add an AP, or maybe you could move this guy here, and I could click on the AP model and add an AP right here.
Yep. There you go.
Um, I'll probably have to
Yep.
rerun my channels using the channel
Oh, look,
planner.
there's all the channels
Oh,
there, Francois.
oh,
Did you
you
see
saw
that?
all the channels.
Yeah.
So let me see. Oh yeah, you're right. All the
And
channels.
it
So
doesn't
let's
have it
select all
selected
of the
though.
6 gigahertz.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
So
might have
let's try
been how
80
you
megahertz.
created it. It's because when you first did it, you it just didn't show us all the channels in that instance.
Hmm. And I like how they give us the details about how well we're doing, how well we're meeting our requirements every time we run our channels. This is
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah. So
Um,
in the previous, if you ran it and it said maybe there was 90% meeting requirements, and then you rerun it again after, I don't know, creating some exclusion areas or something like that, right? And then if you rerun it again, it'll tell you what the result is compared to the previous. And so here
mhm.
we're still meeting requirements because Francois is going from 100% in the previous plan and then 100% again. So at least it's not going down. You didn't
Yeah.
miss an area. I think if you were to not add that access point where
Mhm.
outside the restrooms, it probably would have said drop to like 98% or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and here on this floor, the it's I guess the AP location is not. I will probably move this guy here, um, and see how I could reorganize the rest. Um, but it's actually not too bad, right? I could probably add one here and then add another one here. I don't know, Well, you tell me if I'm crazy here. But I'm kind of reorganizing the APs, changing the design a little bit. And if I want to make sure I'm still good, I guess I could always use the visualization, and I can go to the network health. Uh, I probably need to reassign my channels. So I'm
No,
going to
don't do
use
it
the.
yet. Show it.
Oh, okay,
Let's see
okay.
what it
You
looks
want
like.
you want
Yeah.
to show.
Yeah.
So let me go back to the network health view, and we should see
There you go.
that
Yeah.
okay on 5 gigahertz I'm not good because of my channels probably.
And
If
six
I
gigahertz as well.
6 gigahertz, yeah, we have a
So
little bit
yeah,
of channel interference.
co-channel.
So if I rerun my channel planning tool, um, then we should be fine. I think we
Oh yeah,
went to
you can see
100%.
five
Yeah,
gigahertz was at 89% for co-channel. Now it's at 100 after rerunning it. That's awesome. Like
yeah,
you can see how
yeah.
much better you got. That's good.
That this is good. I really like this network problem. So we have a little bit of secondary coverage here on 6 gigahertz. It actually looks pretty good. On
Yeah, I don't even know
2.4, it
how
looks
that's
pretty good as
possible.
well. Yeah, it's it's nice. Actually, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think
yeah.
network the AI auto planner is a great way to get APs on. It looks like it's improved from the previous version, so you're
Mhm.
getting a level of accuracy there in your designs. You can just adjust them as necessary rather than one by one placing access points. So I think that's a good improvement for AI auto planner or auto planner in general,
Um, yeah,
especially the
and then I would
stats it gives
say,
you.
yeah, the stats is really nice. I like the different iteration. It actually looks like it's putting a little bit more effort into finding the perfect or fine tune and finding the perfect location. Um, and I think it's going to work very well in environment like this, like office environment where you have one model of AP, one type of settings, I guess. Um, in most of the design I work on, though, I don't think it's going to be super useful for me because I use different model of APs. Sometimes APs with internal antennas, sometimes APs with external antennas. So I need to be able to pick and choose per areas, I guess, which type of API I'm going to
Yeah.
use. And on top of this, I have different type of ceilings. So sometimes
Hmm.
you have like, a drop down ceiling. Sometimes you have drywall ceilings. Sometimes you have like bare bone, warehouse ceilings.
Yeah.
And this will impact the height and how you're going to mount the APs.
Yeah. So I'll be
Um,
curious to see how AI auto planner works in these complex environments. But I mean, this is a good start.
mhm.
All right,
Yeah,
so
I
that
think
that
for
was
me
all
it
the
would
design.
be.
Yeah,
I was going to say for me it would be awesome to be able to like draw an area and say in this area this is the type of ceiling I have, this is the height, this is the type of API I want to use, and try to see if the AI auto planner can take that into account. Then that would
yeah,
be a
that'll
big
be a
deal.
good feature add. Okay,
Hmm.
all right, so that covers then our design section, right? So now we'll
Hmm.
kind of look at the survey portion because there are some new features under survey, and I think the two features that we do want to look at as Francois tries to pull up some an example survey file, and we don't really have a survey that's 100% for what we want to do to try to talk about these features. But we're going to talk about the network simulator for replacing APs and also wall attenuation calibration. So I think those two features are big and brand new.
Yes, and so we just loaded a project file here, which is like a random survey I did to. I think I was testing the autopilot feature on the iPad.
Oh, that
Um,
doesn't look too bad then. That's good.
yeah, yeah, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad when I did it. One thing that you'll notice is that they don't have the My APs anymore. So
Yeah,
we used to have that feature that kind of categorize your APs. Um, so now if I want to kind of select the APs that I care about, I guess I could use the quick select tool. They kind of changed the icon for the quick select tool. Now it looks like
a
a
lightning bolt.
thunder, yeah, lightning bolt with like a equal sign to it. But when you click on it, it's the same as before, I guess.
Oh,
Um,
the yeah, from the quick selection where it's got the different
yeah,
columns, you can select whatever SSID or the model AP.
yeah. So here I think I'm going to select this SSID, which is the Office 14046. This was the name of the place we were at. And so it selected all of the access points that broadcast that specific SSID. So then I can go back to the settings under the access points, and I can click on edit multiple access point. And here I'm going to use a color to kind of classify them as my APs. Or I think I could use a tag. Maybe I can say my, try that. So I've added a tag to my APs to set up them as my APs. And then at the bottom, I think I should be able to, yeah, here find um, my networks, I
Yeah,
guess. Oh no,
you're
it,
on
it
that.
shows me the guest one. I was on that
I guess
network when
that's
I
the
surveyed.
survey. Yeah.
Okay, which is pretty much the same.
Okay.
So it kind of keeps the. I think I can do it per color as well. So if I add a color,
Yeah.
we'll make
And
them
and I
red.
think after you do that, since you have a lot of APs there, or and a lot more
Hmm.
from what we previously had, you could use that locate button to really find an AP.
Hmm.
Oh,
Exactly.
well, that I don't think that's a good example. There's like three
Okay.
APs there.
Oh. But
I mean,
yeah. So if I select one AP, and so these APs are probably not located properly.
yeah,
I'll move
it's
them
because
out of the way.
you didn't survey
Yeah.
the whole floor. You just did
Yeah.
a portion of it just to test out a feature.
Okay. Yeah. So I've just reorganized the APs so we don't have like 50 APs on top of one another. Looks a little bit better. So now we're looking at the APs that they kind of had in the space in the office, and this is survey data. And we wanted to show you survey data so we can kind of try to showcase the new features that they introduced with with the new software version. Which one do you want to talk about first? The inspect, maybe?
Yeah, let's look at the inspect feature.
Okay. So at the top, like we said at the very beginning of the show, we have now an inspect tab. And when you click on the inspect tab, it's going to bring you, the view that's similar to the survey inspector today. But it's kind of reorganized. The data is reorganized, and they added something that's nice is on top of having the ability to click on the survey data points and get access to the same data that we used to have access to in the survey inspector mode. Now I can actually click anywhere on the map, and I'm going to get some data on on the signal strength or
Yeah.
whichever visualization I'm looking at for that specific location.
Yeah, so even though you didn't walk in that room and surveyed that room, it's correlating data because you've kind of walked around those areas, and it's kind of
Hmm.
giving you what that signal, I guess, quality would have looked like with the RSSI, the APs that could be heard.
Hmm. Yeah, and so if I click on the random room here, I can see in the inspect view, I have a table that gives me all the radios that I've measured in this environment, and I can see which AP was the closest to this one, next 36. And I think if I click on command, my cursor changed to like a blue arrow, and I can select the AP, and I can see which AP. Oh, this
Yeah,
one is neg 42. Maybe this one is the neg 36 one. Okay.
yeah, there you
And
go.
you can kind of see on the map which area you're talking about.
Yeah, so
Um,
the view that it splits this in under the inspect mode is it'll kind of move the floor plan over to the left in its own pane, and then there's a middle pane with all your APs. Then on the right pane,
mhm,
that's split in half. You've got your requirements, whether it's meeting your requirements, I think, in the specific area that you've clicked on, and then
mhm,
also showing you a bar graph of signal strength, a percentage of what signals at -45 or greater, or between -50 and -45. So it's a lot of good data to place on screen, and a lot
mhm.
easier to analyze compared to the previous version of Ekahau.
Yeah, and if you click on one of the data points, then you're going to bring the spectrum view as well.
Yeah, so on the
So
right
the
pane, it'll split it
Yeah.
on the channels, and also the channels with its signal power, and then also the actual spectrum data, the waterfall view of those channels.
Mhm. And it has been reorganized as well. So now we have the waterfall view right underneath the density view. So this is nice. And also I think they changed the colors a little bit of the spectrum view, so it appears better on the dark mode. Uh, I may be
Yeah,
wrong
it's
here,
not.
but it looks like they changed the colors a little bit.
Yeah, I really like this view. Helps you, I guess, even
Mm.
for analyzing or troubleshooting, you'll be able to look at the data, see what you're looking at, detect if there's any issues anywhere on the floor plan that you've surveyed.
Yeah, so that's the inspect view. Now, if I go back to the survey, actually, no, survey, this is where I would collect them data. So I'll go back to design so I can select my tools. Uh, they actually added a couple of features that could be very useful for us. The first one is the you want to talk about the wall calibration tool?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Talk about that.
So when you've done your designs, you initially place your walls, right? And you pick the like drywall, for example, that's 3 dB. We may not know if that wall is actually 3 dB, right? And so either your building has not been built yet, or you need to do a wall attenuation measurement. Well, the wall calibration attenuation calibration feature will actually help measure that for you using survey data. And so what we're going to do
Mhm.
here is, I think, Francois, you're going to draw in some walls and see if you're accurate with your attenuation prediction there, like
Yes.
what attenuation measurement you're picking.
So this is going to change, I think, a little bit the way we work today, because usually today we have different files depending on if we're doing like a design drawing some walls, or if we're doing a survey measuring the data, in which we usually typically don't draw the walls. But here, maybe that's just going to change a little bit our workflow, because if we want to be able to leverage that feature, we're going to be able to, or we're going to have to draw the walls on top of our survey data, or before collecting our survey data. And I can see this being very useful for AP on the stick type of surveys. So we can actually readjust our simulation directly based on our AP on the stick measurements.
Yeah.
That could save us a lot of time.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
let's do this. Let's draw some walls. And here, instead of drawing the walls manually, I'm going to
Oh,
use
yeah.
a beta feature called wall detection,
Yeah.
um, which is supposed to draw the wall for me. Um, we'll see how that works. And that feature actually just takes the image, detects where the walls are on the image, and draw walls for me. But the walls that they draw for us will be all unknown. So as you can see now, it's done, and I have all my floors defined as unknown. All of my walls, sorry, and they have 0 dB attenuation. Um, so if I want to change this, I'm actually going to go to the view menu. I'm going to hide my APs. I'm going to hide my surveys, and I'm going to select everything. So I just did a Control A, Command A. So now I have all of my walls selected, and I'm going to change them to being dry walls. Okay, we're just going to assume everything is drywall here, even though we know it's not really the case. I
Yeah.
had some glass walls here.
Yeah,
Actually, let's try to add.
there's some walls missing. And while you're adding some walls that are missing, I think it's important to note we kind of glanced over this wall detection, this new feature.
Hmm.
This is good for if you're importing a floor plan, and we all know how long it takes to draw walls and different building materials. The wall detection feature automatically places it. You saw how Francois just automatically placed them again at 0 dBm, but you can go in there and start changing their attenuation. So it speeds up that process. It's not it's not super accurate, but it's pretty good. It's not bad, right? Because you can see
Yeah,
Francois drawing in some doors or glass windows.
yeah, and I'm doing this super fast, just so we can have some data to work with. Um, yeah, and then here, actually, here we didn't have any walls here, so I'll remove this. Okay, and so here, if I bring back my my survey data. Okay, so now if we use the wall calibration tool, what will happen is Ekahau will try to use the measurements I took using the Psychic, and try to see if these walls actually have, the attenuation value that we've set up here at
Can
3 dB.
can I make one recommendation before you
Sure.
do that?
Tell me.
So, given that you've walked not the whole floor, like the
Hmm.
accuracy of the wall attenuation calibration depends on where you walk. That's just how I feel
Yeah.
about this, right? So
And how much you
you
walk.
have you have some exterior walls that may not change because you didn't walk the other
Yes.
side of that wall. So if like for room 4 at the bottom, they're all fours. There's a bunch of fours. Down at the bottom corner, yeah. If you go down further and change that to like concrete,
Like here, all
yeah,
of this.
yeah, we can see if that'll change depending on your survey data. Okay,
Hmm.
that's just the only thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, so I don't think it should change because we didn't walk on both sides of the wall. That's my guess. We'll see. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
that's my
Even
guess
though
too.
I
But it's
changed this guy.
you changed that
Yeah.
one, so we'll see. You can keep it there. We can see if it changes.
Okay.
We just
Right.
wanna be aware of where you're walking to do the wall
Hmm.
calibration, because if you
Hmm.
don't walk the other side of that wall, it might not be accurate.
Exactly. I think the more you walk, the better these will be.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so let's try it
So how
out.
do you
I'm gonna
get
go
there?
to actions. You have to go to actions, wall calibration. Okay.
It was that fast.
It was fast, and it gives us like some sort of report, and it's interesting because for the concrete wall, it's telling us that it measured zero point 0.5 dB. So we went from 12 to zero point 0.5. So the quality is telling us it's poor,
Yeah.
meaning
See.
it probably doesn't have enough measurements to do
Right.
something accurate.
But
Yeah,
for the wall, the drywall, it says it can accurately say that 3 dB is not the attenuation measurement for that wall type. It actually drops
yeah,
it down to 1.5. And
yes,
then you can
and I could
apply
apply.
all, yeah, you can apply all or apply specific wall types.
Hmm.
So given that we don't think concrete is, going from 12 dB to zero point 0.5, you probably won't apply that, and you'll want to remeasure
Yeah.
or do another, a walk to get that accuracy up.
Hmm. So I can see I can see this tool being very useful as long as you have enough data. You measured enough data with the psychic. Here would have been
Yeah,
way better if I actually went inside the
walked in the room.
rooms.
It actually
Um,
it gives you a link to near the top. It says here's how to get the best wall calibration results. So that's just something to keep in mind
mhm.
to click on, and it
Yes.
tells you how to get better accuracy.
So this is definitely something I'm going to use for my upcoming AP on a stick, so I can do it on top of my design,
Yeah. So if you
and
click
see
on
if
the wall
my
there,
design. Yeah,
so click on one of
it's
those
now
dry walls.
it's now
Yeah,
1.5.
changed it. There you go. That's
Yeah,
cool.
awesome. Okay, so that's one feature that's new to, and I've just messed
You've
up
just
my
made,
wall.
well, we
It's
don't
okay.
need the walls anymore.
Oh, anyway, yeah.
So we went through inspect, wall attenuation calibration, and also wall detection. And I think one other feature that'll be really neat is you're replacing your access points, right? And you need to
Mhm.
do a design for these new access points. And maybe someone says, we're going to do a 1-for-1 replacement. Can you tell me what that's going to look like if we replace
Mhm.
all these APs? And you know what? Ekahau AI Pro has a network simulator that can tell us.
Yeah, and this is useful if you've done an assessment of your existing network and you want to see, how the new model of AP will interact in your space. On top of some survey data, you can actually go to Action Network Simulator,
It's a
and then
beta feature.
here it's a beta feature. What am I missing? I'm missing a building, so I have to create a building before. Yes, because we have two floor plans, but it's the same. Okay, so let me actually remove this map. Okay, now we only have one floor. So do we still have to create the building? Let's see.
I bet you
Action
do.
Network Simulator. No, okay,
Oh, you
we
don't.
good. So if I have only one floor, I'm good. And then so it detected six ubiquity access points. Um, and then for the
Yeah,
target access, oh, I guess I have to select which model it is. We'll
yeah,
make it a
AV Pro.
AP Pro.
And then
And
you
for
want
the
to go to
target
6
access
gigahertz.
point, yeah, 6 gigahertz. So okay,
Here, you're
let
gonna
me
scroll.
reuse
Yeah,
the.
just can you type it in?
Get, no, I cannot in this menu. So let me just go and retrieve the 45. Okay, and I can simulate. Let's see what happens.
Okay, so it's just saying this is a beta feature. It's gonna go
Yeah,
in, replace the access points with the newer access point, 6 gigahertz, and we actually have some results here.
yeah, it's interesting. It looks like it's gonna work better with Mist. How surprising is that?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So it
Okay.
actually gives it from your survey data. It tells you what your coverage was like, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's able to say, here's what it looks like with the new AP model. And even
Mm-hmm.
from each band, well, minus the 6 gigahertz
Yeah.
because there was no previous 6 gigahertz, but 2.4 was 41%, and now it's 86% meeting requirements, network
Yeah.
health requirements, and 5 gigahertz now from 71% to 100%. So obviously this would be would you say go ahead and replace them?
Yeah. One thing I was thinking about is, does it keep the same radio settings? I didn't remember what we
Yeah.
had previously.
So I think so.
Um,
This is where we were testing this earlier, and we don't know how to go back because we've made
yes,
the
there's no
change. There's
undo
no
button.
undo. Um, so be careful when you
Yeah.
save the file, unless we don't. I just don't know where
Oh,
it
maybe
is.
here. Oh, I could go back here probably. Yeah.
There you go. There
Okay.
you go.
So in
So
the
it's under
network view, I
network.
could,
Yeah,
yeah.
on the bottom, it created like a new network view. There's a drop down which
Mhm.
had your original APs and channel assignments. And then you clicked on that drop down, you selected the network simulator. There's a generated section that it says generated with the MIST AP45. And then does it keep the channels? It looks
Mhm.
like it does.
It, yeah, it does. Okay, this is
And
good.
then it
If it
adds the
does
six
keep the
gigahertz.
channel,
Yeah. That's
it adds
neat.
a six
I
gigahertz.
think that's pretty cool.
This is nice, especially when we do our assessments. We do a lot of that, right? Customer call us, Wi-Fi is not the best. Can you come and give us, do an assessment and tell us what we need to do? Then we could see, I guess we can get an idea of how much we could reuse some of the AP locations as well,
Yeah.
probably, and then adjust the new design based on the data we've measured, which actually saves a lot of time because you
It
don't have to go
does.
back on
Yeah.
site. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see this doing it a couple ways. You can do a survey of the existing floor, get those wall attenuation measurements, get them accurate,
Hmm.
and then be able to simulate the new network with the new location, the new APs, and their current locations. It'll keep your same channel plan and then add the 6 gigahertz channel plan as well. So I think that's a big feature. I think there's a
Yeah.
couple of projects where I've done that where I've had to. They say they want to switch, but what is it going to look like? And this can help you talk to the client and say you do need a network design because look, if we move over to this vendor, this changes the design,
Hmm.
the coverage. You don't meet certain requirements.
Then I wonder if we can move the APs.
Yeah.
uh,
Does it change anything?
it,
It
it
doesn't
doesn't
look
really
like it
change
is.
the
Yeah.
data.
It's using
So
It's using
yeah.
some of the existing data. So yeah, I'd like to understand like how some of that data is kept. Like what can you move the APs and it'll resimulate signal strength? It doesn't look like it does because there's a big white area in the middle there, and when you move an AP, it doesn't change. But
Hmm.
I mean, this is a good start to some of the I guess existing work that we do with clients.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice feature. It's still beta too as well, so will be interesting to see how they're gonna make it evolve. Because in my head, the next step would be take this and create a new design. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, awesome.
All right. So I mean, those are all the features that we wanted to talk about that's new with Ekahau AI Pro.
Mhm.
I guess final thoughts on AI Pro. A couple of things that we didn't talk about was actually doing the survey. So I don't know if the mobile app needs to be updated in order to work with Ekahau AI Pro files. I don't know if that's the case yet. I haven't tested it. Even I just literally installed it yesterday to take a look. But this is the most I've looked at it with you, Francois, is like seeing what those
Mhm.
features look like. I think it's in a good general direction for the industry. It's addressing a lot of issues and maybe some of the productivity features, workflows. It addresses that. And I'd be interested to see how that changes reports as well, because I do use a lot of Ekahau reports, and now wondering
Mhm.
if some of those reports will change and what other new report tags and visualizations can I use.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's going to take us maybe a couple of projects to get used to the UI, get you used to where the options are and all of this, and then it would be interesting to, like you said, test the templates we have for the reporting, maybe other tools we may have, to see if it still works with the new version of the software. But overall, the new features are actually quite useful. And then I'm going to try on my end. I'm going to try to see how I can integrate some of that in my current workflows to see if I can optimize different things. I guess different way I work with the software.
Yeah, so if you have an active Ekahau license or subscription, you should be
Mhm.
able to upgrade to Ekahau AI Pro. For me, using a Mac, it installed it as a new application, so I still have the Ekahau version 10. And then if you have a Sidekick, that cannot do 6 gigahertz surveys. So just so you know, if you design for 6 gigahertz and then use that existing, the current Sidekick at the time of this publication, there is no 6 gigahertz Sidekick. So maybe later, I don't know if it's this year or next year, they'll probably have a 6 gigahertz Sidekick coming out. I don't know.
That
I'm
would
just
make
saying
sense.
they
Yeah,
should.
that would make sense.
It would make sense
To
if you've
everyone.
got a survey product doing 6 gigahertz designs. You'll
Mhm.
want to validate those. So overall software, I think is pretty good. Got to use it more to see if there's any quirks that I find. Any I think we just ran into one thing, Francois, where it didn't list all the 6 gigahertz channels in when you were trying to
Mhm.
do a design, but then later it did when you did the channel planner. It was in the auto planner. AI auto planner didn't show the all 6 gigahertz channels, but in the
Mhm.
channel planner it did show it.
Yeah, I think it's just like any big software version. Even if, when you have a big iOS, release, you have these little bugs, and then they send us like a patch to kind of iron out all of these small bugs. I think we may, expect something like this maybe with this big release. I wouldn't be surprised. It's just like any other software, I guess. Big software release. It's part
Yeah.
of the game.
Yeah, the other thing we didn't look at too is what it looks like using Ekahau Cloud logging in, and is that also
Hmm.
showing 6 gigahertz projects as well? So we haven't dived
Hmm.
into that. I mean, this is just our first look. I guess we'll check back in a few months to see how we really feel about the product and whether or not it's been
Hmm.
an improvement. So look forward to that when once we start really using it, right? I haven't had a project to use yet, but I do have one coming up.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Roel.
Yeah,
Hopefully, we
thank
gave a
you.
good overview. Hopefully, this was, it was not too bad to understand for you guys only listening to the audio. But
Yeah.
once again, we have the video. If you want to take a look at the video, head over to YouTube, the Clear to Send YouTube channel. You have everything over there. And then in the meantime, I guess we'll see you guys back in the next episode for more Wi-Fi stuff.
Yeah, and let us
Um,
know in the comments what you guys think. Was there
mhm,
a feature that you liked most? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section.
mhm.
All right, thank you guys.
See you. Bye bye.